Hi, everybody. I wanted to thank you for sitting down and joining me for another episode. I normally don't do introductions to a lot of the stuff that I do. However, today is going to be a little bit different, and I am doing an introduction, and the reason why I'm doing so is because I want to let you know that there are some images in this interview which are going to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Today we sat down and we're speaking with Greg from EDNA, as well as somebody who we're going to call WP. You will notice that at times we messed up and we had to bleep his actual name out of the interview itself, but we wanted to protect his identity, particularly because a lot of the things that he's fighting for are essentially fighting against organized crime. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just give you a little bit of a prep. Some of the images that you're going to see during this interview are relatively disturbing. I would suggest that if you have a weak stomach, that you avoid watching them and perhaps skip through them. But I also want to say that I put those in for a certain reason. I put those in not for shock value, but just because there are things that are covered up often and a lot of us don't know a lot about. A lot of the things that we speak about in this interview are real. They're very important social issues, and I think it's really important that everybody takes a cold, hard look at some of the things and some of the injustices that are going on today. There will be a scene following this quick introduction that is going to make a lot of people feel queasy. That scene in particular is a rhino that has been poached for its tusk, where essentially the tusk has been actually removed with an axe from the body. Now, I know this sounds gruesome and I know this sounds gross, so I do want to apologize. However, I think it's important to actually show you a little bit about where some of the passion in this interview actually comes from, because there's a lot of passion from the individual who is out there every single day saving animals, from Greg, from myself, and I hope that you enjoy the interview, and I do hope that you'll share it with other people and pass some of this information along.
In the footage you're watching, this rhino from an Eastern Cape private game reserve had its horn hacked off while it was still alive. Vets and wildlife managers tried in vain to save its life, but the wounds were too severe and it had to be put down. South Africa is custodian to over 90% of the world's rhino. In 2010 alone, 330 rhino in South Africa were killed by poachers for their horn. Already, in 2011, over 125 rhino have been poached, one a day. It has been proven that the horn has no medicinal value and it's not a cure for cancer. However, it's still sought after, and mainly in the East. The killing will only stop when the horror of it is understood.
Hi guys, and welcome to what is really a special episode, because today I'm sitting down with a couple of people. One, of course, being Greg from EDNA, and one is, it's a little bit of a different interview today because we are protecting this particular person due to the nature of a lot of what they have going on. They are, in fact, fighting what is really organized crime in South Africa. So I want to introduce WP from Wildlife Protector as well, who is doing some really, really important work in Africa. We're going to talk about basically some of the experiences that he's had, what's going on, and what exactly his mission is. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how EDNA essentially ties into this. So we're going to call him WP for now. We have him live joining us by voice. WP, I want to thank you for being here. Do you mind just kind of giving a brief introduction about who you are, what you're doing in Africa right now, and perhaps the reason why we're not showing your face and some of the things that you're up against?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. So I started my quest to protect wildlife and be the wildlife protector for those who have not got a voice. The rhino poaching pandemic at the moment allows for roughly 1.1 rhino to go down every 8 hours. So we're losing a rhino at a rate of 3 animals per day. So when I started out, I quickly learned that, very unfortunately, the traditional way of poaching animals by snare was not the only activity involved in this space. And I focused on more higher level crime, which was induced with chemical poaching, what is known the term chemical poaching. And in short, please, Greg, as a veterinarian assist, but immobilization drugs are used mainly for a very, very low sound footprint. The animals are darted with conventional substances, chemical substances, which is atropine, and well known in Africa as the product M99 immobilization drug. And the animal is subdued. It's not a total anesthetic. It's more a combination of sedation and tranquilization. Albeit you can literally walk up to the animal, and a rhino by nature has got extremely poor sight. It's got good hearing, but the drugs affect the central nervous system immediately, and the animal is literally then brought to a standstill. While the animal is sometimes even still standing up, the horn is hacked out by axe, and definitely not a surgical removal of the horn. What is traumatic about that is that the horn can regrow, but unfortunately the way the horn is hacked out, you can compare it to a human's nose, hacked out deep into the nasal cavity, into the jawbone structure, whereby all the cartilage and the growth component is totally removed. Sadly, what I must immediately mention as well is that calves don't leave the mothers. So if it's indeed a female with a suckling calf, the calf will literally just stand there. They don't even run away. And many a times, because the calves make a bleating noise, much the same as sheep, the calf is simply struck over the head with the axe, and the calf is killed immediately to stop it bleeding. So you lose two animals. If you lose a female and the calf is female, you can just guesstimate what that does to your production cycle. So the quest and the vision was immediately, first of all, to start with a DNA process via laboratories where we could immediately see which rhino product, specifically in the rhino case, but ivory as well, and many other forms, but which rhino product could be connected to rhino carcasses. And that would quite obviously help with the investigation. It would also help with so-called legal export and import all over the world. And we needed a platform for rhino product to be screened and made visible in such a format that it can be done literally all over the world, and we can immediately stop trafficking. So why is this important, and how does it connect to EDNA, if I may use that term?
Yes.
I like the word. Is prescription drugs. What I've just explained to you is a scheduled 6 or 7 substance in Africa that can only come into the hands of the medical profession, in this case animal world, by prescription, by a registered veterinarian. And these drugs found their ways into syndicates. In the case of a drug that is used for lion immobilization, it's exactly the same drug that was found in spike drugs, where our children were spiked and then exported. And it was quickly very, very clear that these prescription drugs were indeed the method and the choice of syndicated crime, because wildlife is only a subsidiary. You will always find where wildlife is done on a semi-commercial basis that it's connected to a syndicate, because syndicates operate that way. And there are basically 3 components. It's a form of a natural commodity. It might be diamonds, it might be gold nuggets, It might be wildlife commodity. A couple of years ago, in the early 80s, we started definitely seeing a trade in parrot and abalone, specifically in Africa, ivory, and then rhino horn. So what would happen if the rhino horn is done? The next species will just be targeted, and it's manifested through these syndicates as almost a heroic token and a token of wealth coming into mainly the far eastern countries. But back to the point, it's always connected to human trafficking of some sorts. And that is why EDNA is so important. If we can immediately latch on to the EDNA component and help EDNA to get more data onto the chain, I will be able soon enough to connect a wildlife specimen onto that chain and do the same work.
It's incredible. And WP, like, just to reiterate here, we're talking about, and I did play some of that footage prior to this interview of the rhino that has had its, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I've never been at a loss. Like, I've got goosebumps right now because I think
drug, Matt, that drug is not an anesthetic. It's a paralytic. So they can't move, but they can feel.
And and like rhinos, like, how many rhinos are there in the world, WP? Like, what are we dealing with right now? And I just, like, for me, the fact that this stuff goes on in the world blows my mind. It blows my mind. I'm getting a little choked up here and upset because I'm very passionate about it. I think people who hunt for food, that's one thing, but we're talking about an endangered species, people hacking its nose out of its face and leaving it to die with its calves. I mean, like, it's a pretty emotional, it's a pretty strong thing. And the fact that people can do that to an animal to make, I mean, I guess they make pardon my terminology, but they make like dick pills and they make like fancy things out of its nose is just sickening. What is the current state of the rhino population? Of course, you've also mentioned that it's connected to human trafficking, but what is the current state of this rhino population? Like, are there tons of rhinos floating around the world? Because I would imagine that there is not.
Yes, just one comment on what Greg helped us with as well, and the footage that you saw, and it's very correct. We don't specifically use that term, but it is exactly what Greg explained. The animal can definitely feel pain. So in recent cases in many cases where I had the privilege of also doing monitoring on translocations, the animal's heartbeat, just by drilling into a horn for a transmitter, which is exactly the same as cutting hair or nails if you don't go into the quick. That animal is fully capable of hearing, and although we plug the ears, the heartbeat goes up to 180, 190 beats. So very much so, they are pretty much alive, and they most definitely, I guarantee you 100%, they feel pain, they feel discomfort, even if we put the probe in with a lot of gelatines on the glove, they're very sensitive. So to get back to the numbers and answer you, I don't want to speculate. What I can give you is the work I've done, and it is correlated and matched up with numerous scientists, veterinarians and other organizations in Southern Africa. And the South Africa number, as late as 2015, was guesstimated to be 12,000 white rhino in the Kruger National Park, which is the biggest entity in almost Africa, and definitely Southern Africa, population-wise, but also land mass, size, area size. So at the moment, some scientists actually say that there are less than 4,000. The problem that I've got in this lies that our own government started to stop reporting on poaching statistics 2 years ago. So the fact remains now that if it's not up to me and you to make a difference, get our species on record, and really start to actively work on the trafficking component, we will never know what is the total utilization figures available. Yes, we can work on mortality, and yes, we can work on traditional stats. However, when poaching goes out of the 1%, 1 to 2% realm of which it was perceived to be on average for Africa, that species declines with a tremendous rate. The graph just shoots up through the sky, and now we know for a fact that calves are incapacitated immediately. The stats that I've got, I can make available. It's really not a secret, but the shocking fact of those stats are the fact that the sex of the animals killed in species are not listed. If I tell you that 1,000 animals died last year, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to tell you what sex died. So if we take out 700 animals in terms of a female specimen, then the knock-on effect is immense. It's drastic. If we would say, okay, the replenish rate is normally in nature about 55% female and 45% male, then 700 animals out of 1,000 coming up to close to 75% does make the math look that the government is not making available the stats anymore, and the fact also that our census data is not readily available and not made common sense just tells me that many a sinister thing is happening in the dark.
It's gross. And of course, we're talking about some of these drugs being utilized for human trafficking as well. I guess we're going to get into a little bit more about your story, but I wanted to ask Greg, how does EDNA connect with this, and how did you kind of meet up with WP, and where do we go from here? Like, how does EDNA connect to all this, and how does blockchain work with all this?
Well, WP found me. WP found me, and I think that there are several levels that EDNA can contribute and help combat what's horrible. This is horrible. I mean, look at that video. If you're not moved by that video, I put my hunting equipment behind me because I want people to know I hunt. And I hunt deer. I live in Wisconsin. What I take typically are aged bucks, males, so make room for the younger males, which there's always more of those. It's genetically sane to do this, okay? It actually improves the quality of the animals' lives when they don't continuously breed with the big buck, right? And the other animal I take are dry, what we call dry does. These are animals that have not had a baby in years. And I watch them for years before I take them. I know that they have not had a fawn. And we watch. I take pictures. I shoot more with pictures, with cameras than I do guns and bows. But this is very responsible hunting. And I was telling Matt earlier that if an animal takes one single step after I shoot, I failed. I want that animal to literally drop in place without even knowing what happened. It's over, done. And I eat the meat. It's not wasted, any bit of it. So I mean, responsible hunting is totally different than what's going on here. This is not harvesting of an animal for the good of the animals around you, the environment, or anything. There's nothing good here, zero good, except that some people believe that rhino horn has properties, magical properties, and they want this. And some people believe that it's really cool to have a carved ivory elephant horn, the bigger tusk, the bigger the better, and they cost $300,000. This is not something a normal person wants. Some of the things that we know is that poverty is contributing to this in big ways. Sometimes animals are killed because they intrude on farms. And the farmers themselves aren't necessarily poachers, but they'll stand by and let a poacher go do its thing, their thing, because their livelihood, their lives are impacted. Now, if EDNA goes in there, sequences that animal, and by the way, matching, we're looking, we've got our scientist, our lead scientist is working very hard to make sure that we can offer a simple, very inexpensive test for that ivory and those rhino horns to genetically match them to WP's maps. He has maps. I've seen the database. It's already there. It just needs to be converted to blockchain. We can marry with it. We sequence the animal. We sequence the horn. When we find it, we know this is an illegal kill. And that guy's going to jail who's hauling that horn around, right? Yeah. That's the ultimate answer. Not only that, but as WP points out, at the same time, you're taking the human trafficker off the street because they're the same guys. There's the same people. Now, I don't know 100% how this is going to work. What I do know is that we're going to make it work. We're going to do whatever we've got to do to make it work, to get WP what he needs so that he can actually end this thing. Because otherwise, your children, Matt, your grandchildren will never see a rhino, never see an elephant. They will take it to the nth degree because there's no stopping them. The poverty is bad enough. But with EDNA's program you can go fund one of those African villagers to get him sequenced. We monetize his DNA. Now he's got stacks and stacks and stacks of money, and you've taken your investment and doubled or even tripled it. I don't care what you make. There's still a ton of money left over for him.
Yeah.
You raise the poverty problem, you solve that, the poaching problem, the human trafficking problem will drop in like that. You know, come on. I know you guys see this. And I believe that the people that, at least in our Telegram room, the people that have communicated with me about EDNA, that they believe in EDNA, they want to support EDNA, these people will want to support this.
Yeah.
And we take a little bit of our profit from monetizing our own genetic information. We pump it back into something like WP's work. And I want to put them front and center because this is important. You know, it's a global world now. You cannot live in your ivory tower, no pun intended, in New York, and not be affected by what's going on in the rest of the world. We've got to get it together, and not in a way that you're dominating this planet. You know, it's not yours to own.
Yeah, I think what most people fail to realize is that even mosquitoes play a very vital role in the global ecosystem. And when you start losing species, particularly those as majestic as a white rhino, and you know, you allow certain species to be wiped off the planet by unnatural means. And by unnatural means, I mean by predation, unnecessary predation by human beings for part of my terminology, but for dick pills and statues. Then you affect the entire ecosystem. Every single creature on this planet plays a really vital role in the world going around. And I also saw a picture of your DAC page where you're going to be able to accept donations for this particular cause, and of course you're going to be able to sequence people over there. I think it's a really good cause, and for me, the thing that I really find compelling about all this is that we're using blockchain to help fix real problems. I want to dip back to WP for a little bit, and I want to talk to you, WP. I'm willing to bet that the work that you do is not highly paid, and there is a reason right now why we're not showing your face and we're not necessarily saying your name. Is doing what you're doing, would you consider that in the realm of danger? I mean, who are the people that are profiting off this, and what have been some of your experiences doing the work that you do?
Yes, I just immediately want to add in terms of sustainable utilization of any species and harvesting of species. The fact of the matter is that I don't think we've got a supreme right just to kill off animals, apart from the ethical and inhumane ways that it is conducted in. The really, really sad part is that I can name species after species. If rhino is indeed wiped out as a species, the next species will just be targeted, and it's already there. Rhino horn leaves Africa on average after killing the animal and taking the horn, roughly in a period of 14 days, maybe 21 days. So it's a hot commodity. It's on the run, and it moves. Lion, for example, that is poached, leave the country, South Africa, with all its sophistication, within as short a space as 72 hours. From nose to tail, lion bone, skin, muscle, sinew, the complete animal, toenails included. So the message that I'm trying to make is that poaching cannot even be in the same room as hunting or utilization or harvesting, not at all. And I've got the facts to show on that, and to motivate why there should always be sustainable harvesting. I'm not there though. I'm just trying to emphasize so dearly that if we lose one animal, we will just lose the next animal. It's a syndicated crime, and the commodity will move on. It will not stop. Yeah. Tiger, Indian tiger, Bengal tiger was high on the list of sophisticated species for mainly the Far East market. It came to a grinding halt. It moved on to lion, immediately into an Africa species. Why? Simply because of our logistics and our security systems, and sometimes plainly the corrupt individuals involved in very high level, in so much as ministerial level of government. So it was a freeway. The reason why you are blanking me out is the fact that we're dealing with syndicated crime here. So I can explain to you with facts again that the rhino horn price has exceeded the World Health Organization price of heroin and cocaine. So gold doesn't feature, cocaine doesn't feature, rhino horn features. That's how highly it's sought after. In Africa, and thank goodness to the American Secretary of State on Environmental Affairs and the American Embassy, I was part of the group to have human trafficking and wildlife commodity trafficking declared as a terrorist activity. Why? Because the syndication of these commodities are directly linked to the arms trade. It goes hand in hand. And that is not what I say. That is what the American Embassy helped us with, and the Secretariat helped us with. So it is on an extremely high level that we have to work the problem. The fact that I'm trying to focus on chemical substance just brings me extremely close to the human component and constantly to the drug runners of this world. These are not the cheerleaders of the NFL. These are hardcore criminals swinging drugs, swinging firearms, swinging our children and wildlife commodity. The statistics of human trafficking in Africa, released for 2017, showed a decline in age bracket from, on average, the 18, 19, 20-year-old student going for a typical au pair work, etc., gap year scenario, came down to the age bracket of 15 years old.
I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. I've got a niece who's 15. I don't want to hear
So
it.
what I'm saying to you is, even if we lose every single rhino, a rhino, excuse me, even if we lose all the animals in this world, our children is still core focus. So enhancing the forensic capability through EDNA does address twofold problem. One, extremely important, the economics. What I'm trying, and that's why I'm really focusing on EDNA a little bit ahead of the animal component, is the fact that if I can generate economics, if I can monetize the spit of a human being in a village and pay him and give him back something into his village so that he can actually buy decent food, he's out of the bushmeat scenario immediately. Because remember, the average Joe Soap that now walks around with a snare to snare maybe a smaller specimen is now in front of the barrel of a poacher looking for ivory and rhino horn. So the individuals, the laypersons in these communities are also getting literally shot because they are in the way. So if I can stimulate the economy in a rural area in bringing money into that area, I'm wiping out the direct need for bushmeat. Many people in Africa is making a choice as we sit here tonight to either buy medicine or to buy food. That's how poor we are. So if I can actually give him money and I can take doctors on the run, doctors on the 4x4, doctors by train into those villages and do basic medicinal needs, and the person has got the dignity of putting his 50 cents on the table, you've got a mindset change. You've got a person that is now seeing, with my story that I'm telling him, he does not need to be stepped on in various forms by poaching and literally stepped on by an elephant, because our money can start to help him to buy deterrents in the form of maybe beehives, in the form of alarm systems, etc., etc. But what I'm saying is this individual, the poorest of the poor in Africa, can now feel with simple technology that he's got dignity and he's got substance, meaning finance. I can give you an example of people that we approached in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. He's selling cashew nuts on the street. He does not make $1.50 per day, but he's got 3 cell phones and not on contract. It's on pay as you go. I don't know if the Americans are familiar with that term, but pay as you go means they buy data, they buy X amount of calls, minutes, etc., etc., SMSs. So with Africa's full of cell phones already, we've got it. Zimbabwe right now, as we sit, has not even got paper to print the government bonds in. They have no currency available, nothing. Yet they operate through their cell phones on a non-contractual basis. The poorest of the poor can tell you immediately what's the exchange rate between South African rand, Botswana pula, Namibian dollars, US dollars in Zim, and what they can buy. So the moment we use EDNA to bring direct currency back to that individual on his cell phone, that individual will be far better off than what he was yesterday. Out of that, we as a collective then immediately have forensic capability. We immediately have trafficking capability.
Yeah.
And we've got a story to tell, because we need to educate people around us about all of this. And we need to tell our story to the world.
Yeah, man. I can't even imagine some of the stuff that you see and some of the stuff that you go through. And basically what I'm understanding you say is that through some of the donations from EDNA, and of course EDNA is coming up with a DAC function that is going to allow you to be able to fund people like some of the farmers or whoever it might be to help create some sort of economy in some of the places where this is happening, create some sort of microeconomy and be able to donate some money to be able to give them a way to create commerce, because even though they might not have a lot of cash, everybody seems to have a cell phone. And if we're able to...
I want to jump in.
Please do.
Madam, excuse me. So what we're looking at here is if an investor with $800 or $1,000, let's just make it easy, call it $1,000.
Yeah.
Wants to loan Edna $1,000, we're going to take that money, go sequence a 15-year-old girl in every village we can get to, so that the traffickers know that they've been sequenced, right?
Yeah, very important.
We're going to let them know we were there. We were there. We sequenced. You don't know which one we sequenced, but we sequenced one.
Absolutely.
Order with that. We're going to, not only that, if they are taken, right? If they are taken, there's at least some hope that we'll find them again. Somehow, some way, somewhere, right? There's that family that lost that child has some hope that they will see their daughter again.
Yeah.
Because DNA doesn't change, right? It is the identity. We have proof positive that this child came from here. Now, that's a big thorn in their side. They're going to have to deal with that. And for $1,000, we'll even pay you back $3,000. You have still left on the table $67,000 that can go back to that village. Now that's generational life-changing money for that village.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I don't want to even start to do the exchange rates of that. That is life-changing criteria and math that we're talking about now.
It's a no-brainer. Come on, you can't crap out. You can't hand me $1,000 to go do that.
I think it's beautiful, man. Sorry, go ahead.
The real beauty in this. Sorry, apologies for interrupting you, Matt.
No apologies from you ever.
The real beauty of EDNA, as I was explained by Greg right now, is also the fact that we must appreciate that it's a non-invasive exercise. And I don't want to swing around terms here, but we don't draw blood. We don't even have to prick a little child's finger to draw blood and put it on a plate.
Yeah.
We are really non-invasive. We can, on that cell phone, show this individual almost in real time that he's right there and he's part of a system. Now, beat that, Mr. Poacher, beat that, Mr. Syndicate, and show me how you are going to monetize and economize a village.
Yeah. I really, really like it, WP. I've liked EDNA for a long time. I've been with Greg kind of since the start. When I saw your story and I saw that footage of the rhino, it struck a particular chord with me. I love animals. I like animals a lot more than I like people. And don't get me wrong, I like people, but I like animals a lot more than I like people. I thought it was a really interesting story. And I thought the fact that EDNA is teaming up with somebody as yourself, and I wish, we could bring you on and maybe sometime in the future we will, and we can talk about some of the stories and the ways that you put your life at risk every single day dealing with these people, because this is not ballet here. I know you've had some very harrowing experiences, and that's part of the reason why, of course, we're covering your identity. But to see blockchain, EDNA, and a cause come together is a really beautiful thing, because I think that that's really what we're here for, and that's really what blockchain is all about. It's about doing things to change the world, and I think that that you guys, along with Greg, are very well positioned to do so. I wanted to ask you. Oh, jump in, Greg. Go ahead. Sorry, buddy.
I just want to point out that the rangers that WP works with, the people that are in charge of these parks and trying to preserve these wildlife, they're killed all the time.
Yeah.
They go. They're go to war every day, just like you know, it's just disgusting. It's just gross.
The figures of the average ranger in a park in the year of 2017 was 4 firefights a month. This guy was in battle, being shot at 4 times at least in a month. That's once a week, guys.
Man. Werner, I'm actually speechless. I'm personally, you know, it's hard for me because I like people and I want to believe in the faith in the future of humanity. But with stuff like this going on, sometimes it's a little bit bleak. I don't understand. I mean, it's bleak enough. Of course, seeing those images is really probably one of the most disturbing things that I've seen in my entire life. And then as we've spoken about, this is, you know, it's all the domino effect. One leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next.
Exactly.
It's about more than just, we're not talking about killing a mosquito here. We're not even talking about killing one of the most majestic, beautiful, endangered animals in the world. We're talking about where does it go next, and it's already going there. So I think that's
the real sad part, and that's the real critical question. And they're taking our children.
Yeah. I'm going to post some information. I understand that you have a website as well. You're going to be working closely with EDNA in the future, which is something that I'm really excited about. And I hope to be able to sit down and do like maybe more interviews with you guys and get some of your stories out there, some of the things that you've seen, some of the things that you've dealt with on a daily basis. But I also want to keep this relatively concise so that we get the most amount of people here. I guess I understand that you as well are setting up a current website to be able to take donations to your particular cause. And I'm going to make sure that I list that. But if people want to be able to reach out, they want to be able to get involved, and they want to be able to join this through EDNA, of course, which is an avenue that I highly recommend. But if I understand that you're in the process of setting up a site, where can people get more information? Where can people find out about your cause? And where can people reach out and get in touch with you?
Yes, we are based in Southern Africa, and more specifically, the domain is called Wildlife Protector, one word, .africa. Very easy. Some of our causes will be there. I think what is very important to me and to my associates is that we are not asking blindly for funds at will. Definitely not. I'm employed by this foundation, a non-profit company that I founded, not at a salary, and my life savings is taking care of me. So please, it's not to pay my car or whatever. It is for wildlife and ring fenced. If any donor at any stage would like to donate more towards human trafficking component, there will be a link to that, and the funds would be ring fenced. And at any stage, please feel free to go to EDNA direct and donate there as well.
We will get it there. We're going. I want to jump in here because I'm very excited about this. This is how you make a difference, and if you do it right, if you do it the way we're trying to create, what we're trying to create here, this doesn't cost you. Right? You take some profit, and that's how you get it there, right? This is not your investment in EDNA. While those funds sit there and grow, your investment in your own genetic marketing, right? You go ahead and funnel that into somebody else. We make sure somebody in Africa, the 15-year-old girl, gets sequenced, right?
Yeah.
Village by village. Just, this doesn't cost you. You are going to make your money back. You're going to be returned. This is win, 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 win. And I can't be more excited about it. I can't. I'm out of my skin right now thinking about what we can actually change. And together, right, us, we can do it. I can't do it.
Absolutely.
WP can't do it. Matt can't do it. But together, enough of us get on this, it's done. It's over. We can literally change this planet. And we're using blockchain to do it. Come on, man. This is what we're here for.
This is why I
Greg, the real beauty of this is if I'm knocked out of the system and God forbid you or Matt are hurt out of the system, the data is still on the chain. It's going to match up if that child is trafficked.
Right.
If
Can't
that rhino commodity is trafficked, they cannot stop us. So this is a win, like you say. It's an immense contribution, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm going to work hard on the human component, like we've discussed, with the ultimate goal, if I could move on to the wildlife specimen component. But this is a win for all of us, and they can't stop us.
They can't stop us. They can't stop it. You're exactly right. Doesn't do any good to kill Greg or WP because it's on the chain. And
that's it,
guys. I love it. I'm hoping to drag you guys into more interviews about this in the near future. I love it. If you haven't checked out EDNA, you have to check out EDNA. I'm going to post all of the stuff for WP. This is probably one of the coolest interviews I've ever done because I think that it has the most impact. And I mean, like, EOS.io is my favorite community. It's something that I'm proud to be a part of, and I challenge other applications. If you're looking in, I mean, I'm just saying, Greg is a real dude.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, Greg is a real dude. He is going out of his way to really try to make some changes in the world. And WP, of course, has joined on that. And I challenge each and every one of you people out there to really not just pretend, like not just BS. Yeah, I'm going to save the world with blockchain. To really choose a cause, find something you get attached to, and make the world a better place because you have the opportunity in front of you right now. With that, I'm going to say thank you so much for your time, Greg. WP, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I look forward to doing it again soon. And I'm going to make sure I post all your relevant information and links. Go EDNA, go Wildlife Protectors. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.